Well, how are you all today? How's everyone feeling? Hope you're okay.
Yeah.
How are we today?
Good. So far, so good.
Yeah. Had an interesting weekend. But
First
today,
half of the week.
yeah, today is a new day. So
This is true. This is all true, and anything can happen, can't it?
yeah, it
I
can.
know that's good or bad.
Yeah.
That's not the talk, by the way. But yeah, anything can happen. You never do know.
You don't.
Hope everybody's okay today. Anyway, it's
The sun is shining.
the sun is shining, and it's going to get even warmer. Supposed to be nice for Bank Holiday Monday, so which is tomorrow, I believe. So that'll be good, won't it? That'll be nice.
Not for visitors coming
Not
in.
for
though.
visitors coming in. No. We don't particularly want that. But there we go.
We're not against people coming normally, but we don't want COVID coming here. Thank you, everyone.
No, it's a funny old thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a funny old thing. What's right and what's wrong in the whole mix of it. Hello, Karina. How are you this afternoon? Hope you're okay. Hope your weekend has been better than it was last weekend when you were talking to us. But hey, there we go.
Shall we start then?
We shall start.
Just warm up my vocal cords.
Warm up your vocal
peppermint
cords.
thing.
Do you like our unicorn rainbow cups? Yes, I do drink from the shiny.
Yeah, he doesn't have a
Unicorn.
choice.
No, not really.
We don't have any manly. Oh, actually, we
We
do have a few black.
There's loads
ones.
of black
We
ones.
get them out for visitors, so they don't have to have those.
We get them out for the peasants.
Oh dear. Not that we're having any visitors at the moment.
No, we're not.
But
This
there we
is-
go.
This is very true.
Right.
Yep. Okay. And
Hopefully this song will tie in with whatever you're talking about today.
it very much does. Funny enough. There we go. We shall see.
Creation knows the voice that spoke into the void. Good afternoon. Hi Lindsay. Hi Karina. Can't see who anybody else is, but I'm guessing maybe possibly my mother.
Possibly. It was earlier or now. Some point, somewhere.
I hope everyone's okay.
Yeah, I do.
Over to you. What are you talking about today? Come into the domain of the screen.
Come into the zone. Call this one "Catch It While You Can." Not the COVID-19.
No,
we don't want to catch that. Not catch a cold. I'll explain. When Michelle and I got married, we I don't know how many weddings you've been to, but there's always a famous scripture that's read out and used for a lot of weddings. And funny enough, it's something that we've kind of hung on to, and that's something that's come up a lot. And I'll read the scriptures from the Song of Solomon's, and it's "Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, are vineyards that are in bloom." Okay, I'm hopefully going to explain that a little bit to you if you've never heard of it before. Now, when we lived in Essex, it was in Leigh-on-Sea, I've never seen so many foxes before in my life. You'd think it would be somewhere like here, but Leigh, literally, my mum and dad used to have one that used to fall asleep in the garden, at the bottom of the garden. Even early morning, it would be there. Packs of them at night time. As soon as it got dark, I'd be walking the streets in the middle of the road, I guess, searching for food. And my gosh, what a racket they would make. I remember one time when we were in the house and we could hear this screeching noise and thinking someone's being murdered outside or something, but it was these foxes that were making this noise. What a smell they make. If you walk around the streets of Leigh-on-Sea, all you can smell is the scent of
fox pee.
Fox pee, yeah, really strong odour. And they make a real mess. I'll tell you why they make a real mess. It's because obviously they're searching for food. So the nightmare of bin day is there they have big plastic sacks. They don't have wheelie bins or anything like that. And if you leave your bins out or even your food bin out, those foxes would get into that. And my word, they would make a proper mess. They would rip it apart. I remember watching them get into a neighbour's one, and before chasing it off, and it had the sack, ripped it up, and it was all the way down the middle of the road, rubbish all over the floor. What a real mess they would make, ripping absolutely everything up. So preventing them from making a mess or doing things that wouldn't encourage them was the regular task. It was quite a task keeping the foxes away. So you had to be quite clever. You couldn't leave anything out. You'd have to lock everything away, your rubbish away in some sort of cupboard. Otherwise, they would be making this mess. And believe me, you don't want to be picking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, which some people were, bits of food and whatever off the front of your pavement. Not nice. In most stories or fables, the fox is always depicted as being a cunning, playful, but slightly deceitful and sneaky character. If you watch a lot of stories or read a lot of stories, fables, it's always the fox that's kind of the sneaky one after eating the chicken or that type of thing. Small creatures that have a big impact, especially when they're in packs. The Bible story that I read just a little bit earlier, that little verse, basically is warning and asking us to watch out for small things that can cause big damage in the long term and the run of your life. I'll explain. I guess you've seen the snow and you've been out in the snow. Everybody's been out in the snow. If you get a small, tiny little snowball, I talk to kids in assemblies about this, and you put it into the snow and you roll it, what you're going to get? Keep rolling it, that snowball's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So something that can start off so small and so tiny, first of all, a snowflake or a few snowflakes, to a small snowball, roll it along, becomes something so big. So something so small but can end up getting out of control and so big. Addiction is one of those small, cunning little foxes that ends up in a big mess. And a big mess that can wreck lives and change people's lives forever. I've seen so many people not deal with little things in their life that end up being big messes. So it gets so out of control that they feel that there's nowhere to turn. I've seen so many young people and so many families that over a period of time, and even from my own personal experience, watched someone that I knew quite closely in a previous relationship have a massive addiction to drugs that completely wrecked her life into self-harm and destruction, the fact that she lost a family and lost friends through the whole thing. Somebody that you'd think that would never ever enter into anything like that. Started off with something really small, problems and difficulties in their life that she just could not deal with, and then became out of control. Let's be honest, in our community, unfortunately, all over the country, there's a massive problem with drugs, alcohol, in young people's lives. We talk about it in young people. I work in Kings of Wessex, and it's something that comes up an awful lot, drugs and the drug problem. But let's be really honest, it's not just young people, it's people in general. It's families, it's adults that are using, and mostly because issues in their life have not been dealt with at a point, and things have got out of control, and so we use a substance or we use something to block out what's going on in our lives. So we don't deal with the problem or the issue. It, like that snowball, something so small becomes so big. And then we wonder why we've got a drug problem. Then we wonder why we've got young people that are desperate. Issues within family life or a young person's life, in people's lives, things like stress, loneliness. I kind of understand it a little bit in Cheddar. Isolation, low self-esteem, because it's such a small place. We've lived in bigger places. To come to such a small place and so isolated and so lonely, and sometimes no hope. There's a lot of young people out there that I'm probably maybe listening to this, or you can share this, that don't have a lot of hope. Low self-esteem, hate, not fitting in, village lifestyle, that isolation I've talked about, broken relationships, parenting, stress and pressure. Life is not easy as a parent. Being a parent is not easy work at times. There's a lot of benefits and there's a lot of rewards, but there's a lot of hard work. Especially when your kids have challenging behaviour or there's stuff going off in their lives. That's a difficult thing to deal with. Money problems, stressing and worrying over money and where your last penny is going to come from, or your last pound, how are you going to pay your bills, how are you going to survive, and how are you going to cope. Poor mental health. You know what? It's easy enough for things to creep in, isn't it? It's easy enough for things to start off so small and to become such a mess. Sometimes we don't even recognise it or realise it. I shared with you the other week that I was feeling not particularly brilliant and a little bit down. And I think for my coping mechanism from being younger, I had a massive problem with alcohol. I'm just going to say that out there now. And I found that during this time of isolation and being locked in, that it's quite easy just to have a can of beer. Now, I'm not against alcohol or sit down, have a can of beer or have a can of lager. Okay, I'm not such a prude that, can't drink. I'm not saying stuff like that. But what I found out was I was buying more than I normally would, because I don't normally really buy much cider, do I, or anything like that. But I found out that I think feeling quite down and feeling quite stressed, that slowly but surely I was having, not, I would have a can a month or something like that. I don't drink that much, but it became every single night and every single day. Slowly and surely it started creeping in. Didn't actually recognise or realise what was going on, but that's what was going on. It became a coping mechanism. And then I had to spot that and see that, somebody else spotted and saw that and challenged that. And that's kind of what you've got to do. You know, all the little foxes, when they're let loose, they make a massive mess. And when we don't deal with them, that's what happens. Rather than catching them, and what it says is catch them and be extreme, but kill them. I'm not talking about physical foxes here, but killing the problem. We pretend that the problem, rather than dealing with it, we pretend that the problem is no longer there. But of course the evidence says different. Like on bin day in Essex, if you left your bags out, you'd pay the price, because in the morning there would be a mess and it would be all over the place. To get rid of a weed, we've got tons out the front. I do my head in the back garden. There's one that constantly pops up. So you can hoe it over and take off the leaves and you think that it's gone. But to get rid of that weed, you've got to get down to the root of it. Otherwise, it just grows back, reappears. And to be honest with you, funny enough, it grows out bigger and better than before. So you've got to get down to the root and root that out. So it's time to catch the little foxes. It's time to pull the root out and deal with the situation. Get the strength, get the energy to deal with the situation, to get rid of the mess that's causing you so much problem in your life. Bible says, cast all your cares upon me because I love you. In other words, give up everything and give it to God. Give him a go. Give him that ability to deal with those things because he can help you. It also says this about addiction and about things. It says, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. So, yeah, fair enough, we have the right to do whatever we like in our lives, but not everything is good for us. Sometimes we start off feeling that it's good for us, but in actual fact, what happens is that thing that we feel that is good for us ends up controlling us, and then we become unhappy. It becomes this horrible, vicious kind of cycle. Don't let your coping mechanisms, your addictions, your problems, your issues, whatever's going on in your life become so big that they start to control you. You lose who you are and lose your identity, and these things control you. These habits, these problems, mental health stuff, debt, they become so big that they start to control you. They control your sleep pattern. They control your habits. They control your eating. They control your thinking. Everything takes over and becomes a complete mess. So let God and let go. That's what I'm going to say to you today. Let him catch and deal with things at the root. Deal with those things. If you keep getting debt letters through your door, and get advice. Speak to somebody that can help. Sometimes I think the stigmatism of asking for help and the fear of talking to somebody and the fear of opening up, the fear of allowing somebody into that problem sometimes takes over, doesn't it? I found that in other circumstances that sometimes you believe the lie and you feel the fear of actually making that step and making that change. But when you actually make that step, and sometimes that takes a lot of strength, a lot of energy in certain circumstances. But as soon as you do that, as soon as you open your mouth, how much lighter you feel. I remember being in an abusive relationship, and it had all gone sour. It was horrible. Like I said before, I felt like I wasn't me anymore. And it got so bad with somebody that had a massive problem with drugs and all the rest of it. And life was falling apart. And I remember the opportunity of when someone came around to the house to come and see us because things got so bad that I kind of whispered to that person. And I said, look, everything isn't what it seems. And I need help. I need help to get out of this problem. I need help to get out of this situation. Now that took 2 or 3 years to get to that place, to sort that out. But the moment that I opened my mouth, so much relief and so much pressure that dropped off was incredible. So, you know what? Speak to somebody, get advice. If you're depressed and you're down, talk to someone. There's plenty of people. We're here. There's plenty of people that love you and help you. If you feel that you're so isolated that you have no one, then for me, sometimes I'm surrounded by people and I can feel lonely. God cares. Like I said, cast all your worries, your troubles, cast it all onto him. Talk to him. Challenge you to do that, and I know that you can help. Small things, if they're not dealt with, have a habit of getting bigger. They have a habit of getting out of control. They have a habit of making a mess. So it's time for us to sort out the foxes. Catch them while you can. Those little foxes that come in, nibble away. You think that it's not making a difference. You feel that it's not doing anything, but over a long term, there's problems, there's difficulties. Michele sung this song, it's called Authority. That's right, isn't it? Jesus has the power and the authority to deal with whatever you're going through today. Whatever situation you're facing, good or bad, God has the authority. Jesus has the authority in one word that he can speak into your life, has the authority for your life to turn around and to change. Whatever issue, whatever thing, whatever problem, you know what? God can do all things in your life. And that's by setting you free. The Bible says that truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. It's always good to tell the truth, isn't it? Again, I tell a story to kids in schools about truth and about how that sets you free. It's a funny story. I'll have to share that one maybe on Friday. It says that Jesus is the great I am. In other words, all the good things I am truth. Jesus is truth. So in other words, trust him and he can set you free. So whatever you're facing today, maybe the addiction isn't your deal or your problem or your issue, but there are other things that are taking over in your life, that are causing havoc, those little foxes. Jesus is there for you. Trust in him and he can set you free. He has the authority to deal with those problems, to deal with those issues. If you have got a problem of addiction, I've seen many people that have turned their lives around, that have been heroin addicts, that have been homeless, that have had no hope, turn their lives around. I know 2 or 3 people personally that have done that are leading churches now and doing some great stuff in this nation. So do you know what? There's nothing too bad. There's nothing too awful for God. There's nothing too messy.
No.
There isn't. Catch the little foxes. There's things that you can do. I know I'm talking about God can do it in your life, and yes, he can, but there's things that you can do as well in your life. Things that you can do to catch those foxes, like I said, by talking, by admitting, by asking for help. Deal with those little things. Little arguments, little niggles before you go to bed. Deal with them. Don't sleep on it, because funny enough, they get bigger. It gets worse. Deal with the little situations. Because sometimes, I don't like the saying, is it what? Don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah. But I think the small stuff is the stuff that sometimes we go, it's only a little thing, or it's only a little problem, or it's only a little habit, or it's only a little, I'm fine with it. Yeah. But it's those things that tend to creep out. Like the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. Deal with it, sort it, recognise it, put a finger on it and go, I'm not having this anymore in my life. I don't need this anymore in my life, and that's not what I'm going to live with anymore. So for me, the other week, when I said that I was feeling that way, I had to do something about it. I could carry on and go in a journey of putting on a little bit of weight, being quite grumpy, moody, or, deal with it. So I had to make a decision and kind of cut that out and go, I'm not going to allow that to become a problem, to become an issue. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. maybe a little bit heavy this morning, but it's there to encourage us all to deal with the small stuff. Maybe you can think of some of those things in your mind right now, and your mindset, and think, there's a few things that are bugging me so much that they are controlling me this morning. They are controlling my life. They are taking over. I am losing sleep over it. I am stressed out about it. So my message to you this morning is speak those things out. Say, I need help. But, go to God over it and say, God, I really need you. I'm laying this stuff out before you, and I can guarantee that it'll work in your life. If you've never done that before, you're scared of doing that, then go for it. Guys, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking life to you. Jesus is life and his truth to set you free. So that's me. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
It's just about dealing with the root causes of things, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, for us, it's not been an easy few years in lots of ways. We failed our IVF attempt, which was really the only attempt that we could afford.
Yeah.
And then we moved here from Essex, and at the same time my mum and dad were separating, and I was having loads of issues. I've always had issues with body dysmorphia and other eating disorders, and all of that was going on at the same time. And I guess you kind of can sweep all of those things under the carpet a bit and not deal with them. And sometimes I think you can think that you've dealt with them, but then all of a sudden, for me last year, it all seemed to come to a head just before we went on our summer holiday, and I had a bit of a breakdown really, and had severe anxiety and panic attacks, and I was actually really ill, wasn't I? And it's only really been the last couple of months that I've started to become me again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I had to ask for help. I tried so many different things. I've had hypnotherapy, I've had CBT, I'm waiting for counselling. But it's about stepping out and dealing with root causes of things. Now, for me, I've got God in my life. I don't know how I would have dealt with any of those things happening to us or to me without having God in my life. But I think it's just important that those things are all little foxes. Yes, some of them are huge things, but it's only because they've become huge things that it all accumulated and kind of went off last year and exploded. And when that happens, you have to deal with it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
But you can stop it from getting to a massive thing like that.
Yeah.
And it's a work in progress. It's something that you have to kind of think about and do every day.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's why we feel our work, is so important, because we work with families, we work with a lot of young people, and it upsets me when I see young people that have no hope, that they are using substance to cope with difficulties, because it's got so out of control at such a young age.
yeah.
And what's the rest of their life leading into if they don't deal with the root problem? And I think there's a lot of hopelessness, and there's a lot of feeling of isolation within kind of Cheddar. When we moved here, obviously when we came, we heard about some of the suicides and other things that were going on. And I think it's really sad to see that. So, part of our voice into schools and working with young people, this is the reason why we do lunchtime clubs and assemblies and stuff, is to have a voice to say, do you know what? We understand those things, but we want to help you and support you and deal with the small things.
Yeah.
deal with it before it gets
from a young age.
From a young age, before it gets out of control.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're here for families and for adults too, but obviously sometimes it's a lot harder because, let's be honest, you know, we've all got baggage and we've all got things going off in our lives. But like I said earlier, let's not allow those things to control, to dictate who we are, our circumstances, to control who we are, when, you know, God's created us to be bigger and better than those things that try to tie us down and try to, you know, bring us down to this place of feeling low and feeling bad about ourselves. So we're sold out to doing that. That's a big job.
But someone's got
to do it, and if it's one at a time, then we'll do one at a time. If we can make a small difference in somebody's life, then we'll do that. That's why, you know, we are challenging you guys too, because you know what, God's plan and purpose for your life is much more than you think and realise, and God wants to work through you too and make a difference in people's lives. You know, whole communities can change, whole schools and situations and circumstances can change when God comes in with his authority and changes things and works in people's lives to do some amazing things. And again, I've had so much experience of that happening with young and old, where God's taken hold of their life, turned them around, changed their life so much that they impact other people and it helps other people too. So yeah, I guess it's a bit of a challenge. It's guys, we like to be real with you and honest with you. I'm not, you know, we're not blowing smoke up. You know what the phrase is. Yeah. We're not doing that. We're giving you as it's real, and following Jesus and being a disciple of Jesus and, you know, loving him and all the rest. That's hard as well. Has its challenges. It's not easy. You know, it's not.
Nothing's easy.
No, nothing's easy. But we know that he can do all things, and we know that he works in our lives and helps us deal with the small things and helps us walk our life. So yeah, deal with the little foxes. Sort the small things out. Root them out while you can. Catch them while you can.
And if you don't know how to do it, then ask somebody.
Yeah.
You can talk to us. We might not have the answers to your particular situation, but we might know somebody that will have the answers for your situation. But if we can help, guys, we want to help as many people as we can. So
yeah.
There we go.
Just lastly as well. By the way, I'm not, you know, many Christians, okay, use church and religion as this phrase comes up an awful lot, a crutch, okay? That's the same as using drugs or alcohol or, you know, tablets or whatever, you know, in your life. That can become, and it's not about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, oh, use God and lean on him because I'm so hopeless. It's not about that. It's being empowered to live your life better and bigger than where you're at. Okay? It's about a mutual relationship. It's not about, you know, I'm so weak that now I need Jesus. It's not about that, okay? Just to drop that in there, because there is a perception that, you know, it's all about that. And if you're living that type of Christianity and you have that type of, then sorry, but
that's wrong too.
It's wrong. Okay, I'm just going to say it as it is, you know. Okay. Anyway, that'll be me.
That's us done.
That'll be us.
It is Bank Holiday Monday tomorrow, but if you are on our food barn project scheme,
we are
still out.
We are still doing it.
So if you haven't got your payments in, get them in.
Yep. We are still out and about.
We are.
Yeah, we're still doing that. So, yeah. So good.
Thank you everyone for
tuning in. And
if you're watching us live or if you're watching us later, we hope you have a lovely day. We hope you have a nice rest of the weekend, the bank holiday weekend. Don't go out too far. Don't venture to ridiculous parts of the country that you shouldn't be. Be wise with your decisions, guys, please.
Yeah, there's a lot of craziness. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the whole thing at the moment. It's, anyway. We shall see. Yeah. We shall see. Enjoy.
We love you all. We're praying for you all. You're all on our minds all the time.
Yeah.
yeah, we shall speak to you soon.
Yes.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.